Well, happy Pride Month, everybody. It is June, it is Pride Month, and as you guys know, I've discussed multiple times on the channel, I am a member of the queer community, and I didn't come out as a member of the queer community until probably my late 20s, like 27, 28 years old. I grew up in a hyper conservative Christian community. I have struggled with, my identity for a very long time, not just in regards to that, but being forced into an ideology your whole life, not necessarily agreeing with that. And my pansexual identity is like a big part of who I am as a person. And it's been something that embracing that and coming to terms with that has been one of the most important parts of my life. I feel like for so long having that kind of blanketed off and not really like openly admitting to that made living a lot less fulfilling. And now that I'm comfortable and open in that idea, it's been some of the best years of my life. And the queer community truly is just filled with some of the most beautiful, wonderful people in the entire world. And I think that it's important. And today I'm going to give you guys a list video of some movies to watch for Pride Month. And I'm going to talk about very recent movies within the past 3 or 4 years. I'm going to keep it relatively recent so that you can be watching newer queer art made by queer creatives oftentimes, because I think it's really important to support those people. But before I get into that, I did want to just stress, I think right now in the United States of America, especially, it is one of the scariest times to exist as a queer person, and especially a trans person in this time period. I think the trans community is filled with some of the most wonderful, incredible human beings on the planet who legitimately have to go through a hell of a lot just to exist as who they want to be. And what I find so interesting about this, I grew up around bigoted people my whole life in the Christian church who found that, because they were fed an ideology their whole life, that that was the only way that you could live and that's the only thing that you could do with your life. And they were so certain of everything, like everything was so cut and dry. What I find so interesting is that, like with trans people, so many people hate trans people because they don't understand it. That like they have this lack of knowledge, they don't understand it. I don't think you have to understand something to, accept it. I really don't. I don't think you have to completely and fully understand something to be fine with it. In my eyes, the trans community, if a person is willing to go through the amount that a trans person has to go through, whether that's the gender affirming care, oftentimes being completely and totally ostracized from their family members, the uncomfortable moments of transition where you're not to the point where you look the way that you want to and you're working to get there, all of those different things, you go through all that just to like live as your authentic self. Why would you hate that? Why would you go out of your way? Why would the current president of the United States of America spend so much of his campaign trail targeting such a small group of the population? And they're going to be wrong. The people who are against the trans community, the people who fight so hard against the rights of the trans community are going to be wrong, just like the people who fought against gay marriage, just like the people who fought against equal rights for African Americans in the United States of America. We can go back through history and talk about how conservative Christians have been on the wrong side of the aisle over and over and over and over again. And I just wanted to start today's video before I even got into it by saying, if you are subscribed to my channel and you are a queer person or a trans person or a person of color or a person that looks different than just white, straight, cis male, that I care very deeply about you. And I think that you are very important. And I think that your life matters. And I think that that's something that needs to be stressed in Pride Month. It is more important than ever that even if you are not a member of the queer community, support your queer friends. Talk to them. Ask if they need a safe space. Be an open ear. It is a very scary time and uncertain time, especially for people in the United States of America, because this current administration, it's just like every single day they can flip-flop what they're thinking about, and they can go after someone's fundamental human right. Just, when you wake up in the morning, you read a notification on your phone and you have to be completely horrified. And I just wanted to start this video by saying, like, you're a member of the queer community. You deserve love. You deserve acceptance. You deserve deserve people to care about you, and I care about you. And I just wanted to let you guys know that first and foremost. But without me ranting any further, I wanted to give some new movies that are queer centric movies, either made by queer creators or, that have themes about queer identity in them, because I think it's so incredibly important to engage in art from people of different backgrounds and different cultures and different orientations. It's one of the most beautiful parts of life. I like to compare it to food. I do a food segment on here, but like when I think about, the beauty of the diversity of the world, you can either eat boiled unseasoned chicken or you can eat a beautiful plate of paella with all different ingredients and seasonings. It's like, why would you not want the world to be that diverse, beautiful thing? Why would you want it to just be this bland, one singular thing? I just can never wrap my head around it. So today I'm going to give you guys some recommendations of some movies thematically centering around being a part of the LGBTQ community, and I'm excited to tell you about some of them today. First off, I want to talk about I Saw the TV Glow from director Jane Schoenbrunn, probably one of my favorite movies of the decade so far. I've talked about this movie a million times on my YouTube channel, so I won't talk about it for too long. This is one of the most brilliant films when it comes to discussing and exploring the transgender identity that I've ever seen. It is harrowing, it is heartbreaking, it is beautiful, it is legitimately looking at a person who completely spends their lives turning their back on their identity in fear of what would happen if they embraced it. It is heart-wrenching, it is guttural, it is created by a trans person. Truly just one of the most remarkable pieces of art that I've ever seen. It's a great horror movie. It is compelling. It has brilliant performances. It has one of the best soundtracks to a movie that I've seen in years. You've heard me talk about it enough now. Just go watch it. Up next is Problemista from director Julio Torres. I loved this movie. It is silly, it's fun, it's over the top, and it has an incredible lead performance from Julio Torres, who plays a really phenomenal queer character. This movie goes into fantastical realism territory in the most absurdist way imaginable. Tilda Swinton gives one of my favorite performances in her career in this. Just truly incredible. The two of them just have amazing chemistry. The movie is colorful and vibrant and engaging. Themes about being a queer person in it and also being an immigrant. And there's all different kinds of amazing things that exist in this film that are truly poignant and thoughtful, but also incredibly hilarious. I just couldn't recommend it enough. Next is National Anthem. This movie is awesome. It is about a young guy who goes to work on this farm that is completely and totally run by members of the queer community, and his relationship with one of the trans women who lives on the farm. It is incredibly beautiful, and I think it kind of attacks a lot of the stereotypes surrounding like queer people when it comes to country culture, because so many times when you think about like country living or southern living, there's so much that is attached to conservative ideology, especially when you think about country music and how a lot of that is rooted in a lot of conservative ideology. When you look at the themes that some country music explores, I'm not going to blanketly say all of it because that's not necessarily true. There are a ton of amazing country music artists who have been very embracing of the queer community. There's a lot of people who kind of blanket the other side. I think the movie does a really great job at exploring a subset of the culture who appreciates that lifestyle and being involved in that lifestyle, that also embraces their queer identity. I thought the movie was beautiful. It's poignant. It's incredibly shot. It has some really amazing music. I don't think enough people talk about it. Up next is the film Something You Said Last Night. This is one of the most beautiful slice of life movies that I've seen in a few years about a trans lead character. And what I love so much about this movie is like a lot of times when you watch films about the queer experience, the drama in it feels just so overblown. Similarly to a lot of movies about marginalized groups. And the reason why the drama is typically overblown is because it's trying to hit a message home. This feels so incredibly natural. Like every conflict that shows up in this just feels like day-to-day life. I mean, it's a relatively low stakes movie, but that's what I enjoyed about it. The familial chemistry felt very realistic. I enjoyed the direction. I thought it was really beautifully shot. Just a really fantastic movie that I think is definitely worth your time watching. Up next is the new film Queer from Luca Guadagnino, a movie that I feel like did not get the praise that it deserved, with one of Daniel Craig's best performances of his career. It's surreal, it's abstract, it's uncomfortable. It's a really fantastic look at queer identity that just really blew me away while I was watching it. The cinematography, per Guadagnino's usual, is beautiful. The choice of music was really fascinating. And I just thought the showcase of this like older gay man like trying to embrace his identity at this period in time, and like, you know, his relationship with this younger man and the way that it impacted his life and, you know, who he is. And he's a fundamentally flawed character, which I always like movies that can showcase queer characters that are fundamentally flawed. And it just is really well done. It's incredible. I picked up my A24 Blu-ray copy of it recently, and I'm very excited to revisit it in the future. Next is the film Joyland. This is a Pakistani movie that I thought was absolutely incredible, that I feel like no one ever talks about it. I saw it on the Criterion channel, about this man who has a pretty normal family dynamic. He's struggling to make money, and he's the patriarch of the family. He needs to make money to survive, to keep living with his family. And so he joins working at this like erotic dance club that one of their main dancers is this trans woman, and the entirety of the film is the relationship between him and this trans woman who works at the erotic dance club. It is incredibly beautiful, very realistic. It's heartbreaking in moments, and I feel like the themes that it examines around queer identity and like how people embracing their queer identity impacts their lives, and how certain things have to change and shift in order to embrace that identity. And I think it's so beautifully handled. And I feel like I don't see a ton of movies out of Pakistan, so it was really cool to watch a movie that was Pakistani, that was surrounding queer identity. It's absolutely incredible. I'd highly recommend watching it if you've never seen it before. Up next is Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding. Sometimes all you need in a queer movie is just it to be sleek, sexy, exciting, and fun, and that is exactly what this movie is. It has two phenomenal lead performances. It's surreal and abstract in the best way imaginable. I love this movie a lot. I love Rose Glass as a director. I think she is phenomenal. Between this and Saint Maud, she's 2 for 2. This is just a really fun thriller that if you haven't seen, you'll find something to enjoy with it. Next is the film Blue Jean. This movie is absolutely incredible. It's about a queer PE teacher who is living in a time where it is not acceptable for her to be openly gay, and she has a young student that comes to her school that runs into her at a gay bar one night. And it's all about the trajectory her life takes after that young woman sees her at this gay bar. It is harrowing. It is beautifully done. It's very thoughtful and tells the story of a very different time period and a part of the world that was hateful and terrible towards queer people for just existing, which has happened in all parts of the world at some point. It has some really phenomenal performances. It's just really well done, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. Up next is Cuckoo from director Tillman Singer, starring Hunter Schafer. This isn't necessarily like just a queer-centric movie as a queer lead character that plays a part of the film. This is just a fun, highly stylized horror movie that pays homage to a very different era in filmmaking. I think Hunter Schafer is brilliant in this movie. She's someone that I'd like to see in a lot more projects, being a very incredible actress and being such like a voice for the trans community. I just think that she's absolutely wonderful. This movie was fun. It was hilarious in moments, uncomfortable, disturbing. Anything you could want in like a horror movie exists in this. Just such a fun movie. Kind of reminded me of like 80s giallo films at times. Just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Check it out if you haven't. Up next is All of Us Strangers from director Andrew High. Probably one of the most depressing movies that I've seen in the past several years, about these two men who meet at a brand new apartment building and start forming a relationship together while the lead character is going through something in his own head in relation to his parents and their death. This one hit me like a ton of bricks. It is beautifully shot. It has two absolutely amazing lead performances. It takes you on a journey that I do not think that you would expect. Just really beautifully done, and I can't say enough about it. I bought a Criterion copy of this movie. It is brilliant, and I can't wait to watch it for years to come. And then the last movie I'm going to talk about today is the movie After Sun. This movie isn't necessarily like queer thematically all throughout, but I thought it was a really interesting story story of a person who is queer that is reflecting on the relationship with her estranged father. This is one of the most beautiful movies I have ever seen. I can't remember the last time a movie made me cry as hard as After Sun did. Probably one of the most beautiful films ever made. It is incredibly shot. It has two amazing lead performances, some of the best music in a movie I've seen in a long time, and I think that it is just remarkable filmmaking. If you haven't seen it before, please watch it and support it. It is incredible. So, what are some movies you're going to be watching for Pride Month? This is obviously just like some newer releases that I wanted to talk about, but I'm curious to hear what movies you're excited to watch this month as well. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.